website, sec.gov. In the search box type in NextBridge and click on the company. Then click on the most recent 8K filing dated February 17, 2023. This filing was because the NBH board had a press release providing a summary in connection with its spin-off on December 14, 2022. In this video I will cover the statements that I found most interesting. And I will conclude this video by providing my updated NBH or MMTLP QSIP web diagram, which is my speculative guess as to why every NBH shareholder has a different QSIP number and how it may settle. On the first page of the press release, NBH states, at the time of the spin-off, the current executive officers of the company did not own any of Meta's Series A non-voting preferred stock. On page 52 of the S1 filed on January 23, 2023 had a complete list and description of each executive officer. Here is the list for you to screenshot and save. Note, this list includes the age and position of each executive officer. Also note the subtitle Key Employees, which has, Kyle Bradford, 42, as the Executive Vice President, Drilling and Construction. And Darren Rader, 39, Executive Vice President, Completions and Production. On page 53 of the S1, it gave a small description of their experience in the oil and gas, which I recommend all investors read. However, is a screenshot of Kyle Bradford's description, and I quote, he led the drilling and operational teams through the development of the superlateral program highlighted by the drilling and completion of the world record-setting Purple Haze 1H. And this is a screenshot of Darren Rader's description, and I quote, Darren Rader has 16 years of experience across the Mid-Con and Appalachian basins as an engineer and operations leader. Going back to the first page of the press release, the second statement I found interesting was that the NBH board again reiterated that there is currently no public market for our common stock, and there is no current expectation for a public market to develop for the common stock. All the main YouTubers, previous CEOs, management, and in every document filed with the SEC has stated that NBH has no current expectation to go public, and now this statement released on February 16, 2023, explicitly confirms that there will be no public market for our NBH shares. In the next paragraph of their press release, NBH board explains, AST has distributed all shares of our common stock related to the spin-off, either directly to any stockholders that held their shares directly registered with AST or to our shareholders' bank, broker or nominee representatives. Meaning, all of the 165,472,241 NBH shares have been allocated to investors that held the prerequisite MMTLP shares. A question that gets repeatedly asked is, why does the NBH company have to report anything to the SEC if they are a private company? This question is answered on page 2 of the press release, and I quote, by registering the shares of common stock in connection with the spin-off, we became subject to the reporting obligations under the Exchange Act. This is why the NBH company is referred to as an independent public reporting company in their S1 applications. In next sentence, they also inform investors that they expect to file its Form 10-K on or before March 31, 2021 for the year ended December 31, 2022. Okay, now this next paragraph on page 2 of the NBH press release is very important that we read and assess each sentence individually. First sentence states, we recognize that some of our shareholders who owned Meta's Series A non-voting preferred stock prior to the spin-off might have been affected by Finra's halting of the trading in that stock while the company was still wholly owned and controlled by Meta, the trading halt. As investors, we now know that the NBH board is aware of the U3 extraordinary halt imposed by Finra and that they acknowledge that some shareholders have been affected. Second sentence states, the current board and officers of the company have no information from Finra regarding the trading halt other than the information in the public notice published by Finra announcing the trading halt. I interpret this to mean that the NBH board is informing investors that they have the same limited information about the halt that retail investors have and from the same Finra website source. Third sentence, further, Finra did not provide any advance notice to the company or Meta prior to its initiating the trading halt. I interpret this to mean that NBH nor Meta had no information or notice to suggest that a halt would be taking place, especially after Finra issued their revised notice stating that MMTLP would trade on December 9 and 12. Fourth sentence states, while we were not involved in the trading halt, we certainly empathize with anyone adversely affected by the trading halt and are assessing the matter. I interpret this to mean that the NBH board is letting investors know that they are aware that NBH investors have been harmed from the halt, which they had no involvement in, and are assessing the matter. What I find interesting is that Finra claimed there was significant uncertainty in the settlement and clearance process. Now NBH board is stating that Finra hasn't provided them any information which isn't publicly available on their website. OTC President Cromwell Coulson also confirmed there were millions of short positions. I am hopeful that because the NBH board is stating they are assessing the matter, that they have likely written to Finra requesting more information. But regardless of Finra's unprofessional behavior, NBH goes on to state that they remain focused on this objective to develop our interests in the Oro Grande Basin. I speculate that Finra is in a position where any communication from them to the NBH board would expose the excessive and naked shorted positions. So they must choose to say nothing. However, while Finra stays silent, investors and the NBH company are moving forward with lawsuits, research, spreading of information across social media, developing the Oro Grande assets and seeking out new investors through the use of Roth Capital, a private global investment bank, as our placeholder agent. As many of my followers know, I have been collecting the numerous fake NBH placeholder QSIPs issued by all the brokerages holding naked short positions in NBH. I have acquired around 34 brokerage QSIPs of the 105 and will continue to add them to my chart as more investors provide updated QSIP numbers. I have drawn out a web diagram of what I speculate and imagine may be occurring with our NBH shares in order for the naked shorted positions to be covered and closed. Because NBH shares cannot be publicly traded, they can only be traded as liquidation only, to skirt the definition of public trading. I postulate that every brokerage that has issued the same QSIP will be trading and covering the shares between themselves. I further speculate that they are using the same QSIPs because they kept selling each other naked shares and are now liable to cover those same shares that they shorted amongst each other. I want to point out that the red and pink are basically using the same QSIP number. International brokerages have simply put the letters US next to 5919943771, implying that all of the red-colored brokerages and pink-colored brokerages could be trading between themselves. The 10 white brokerages at the bottom all have unique QSIPs that no other brokerage has. I am interested in knowing what your thoughts are on this web diagram. How do you envision the naked positions being covered, and why are many brokerages using the same QSIPs and why are many using completely unique QSIPs? If your brokerage is not in this diagram, I would appreciate it if you could leave the name of your brokerage and the NBH QSIP number. As I receive more QSIPs, I will continue to add them to my chart and web diagram. Please like, follow, comment, and share. Nothing in any of my videos is legal or financial advice. It is strictly entertainment, my speculations, interpretations, and opinions. It is your job to review the information and compare my views to your own views. My videos are designed to create discourse and get investors thinking and cooperating to develop more refined ideas.